Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Thursday, January 18th, and upcoming this weekend in MMA, we have UFC 220 in Boston, which features a huge heavyweight fight, Stipe Miocic against Francis Ngannou. We're going to break that down. That's an interesting matchup. Should be an exciting fight and very interesting from a betting perspective. We're going to break down the main card with our regular guest, Andreas Hale. Andreas Hale, thanks for being back with us one more time.
Absolutely. Once again, let's do it.
All right, Andreas, let's start with the heavyweight fight. One of the best heavyweight fights ever in MMA, Stipe against Ngannou. Of course, Ngannou just an absolutely terrifying individual. Stipe is the champion, though, and Ngannou, kind of interestingly, getting a lot of line respect here, minus 185. Stipe, despite being the champion, is on the other side, the underdog at plus 160. Ngannou, of course, has been a vicious heavyweight so far, a vicious finisher, of course, up till now. But I think we would say that Stipe is the toughest, fastest fighter that he's ever fought, and definitely Stipe has faced tougher competition overall. So I'm not exactly sure if Ngannou should be is justified as this big of a favorite here. I've heard some opinions that I respect, saying this is basically a 50-50 coin flip fight, which if that's the case, I guess would give some value to Stipe as an underdog of plus 160, a pretty significant underdog. What's your read on these lines? Should Francis be this big of a favorite here?
No, I don't think he should be this big of a favorite. Obviously, he is facing the champion, a guy who's finished his last 5 opponents, 4 in the first round. Stipe Miocic is getting disrespected. Look, I get it. Francis Ngannou has a great amount of power and has been putting away opponents at will. He has 4 first-round finishes as well. However, Miocic just has a lot of different advantages. He's an excellent wrestler, which I think is going to play a huge factor in this fight. He's a much better striker. He doesn't have a glass jaw like Overeem. He doesn't have a glass jaw like Andreas Hale. So he's getting disrespected, and this is where the value is. Could Ngannou knock him out? Absolutely. He's a guy who hits extremely hard, and I don't think Stipe has dealt with somebody who hits this hard. However, if he fights the fight that I expect him to fight, which I think he's going to try to drag him into deep water and grind it out by using his wrestling and then try to test his cardio in the later rounds, I think you get a lot of value in Stipe. Also, you get a lot of value in the over as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. I mean, the fight, it's a 5-round fight. The total is, the over is 1.5 plus 135. The under is minus 155. The fight not going the distance is minus 1,100. So clearly, the market strongly expecting a finish here. The fight going the distance is plus 620. The over, though, is 1.5 plus 135. That's a nice read on this one. You might have talked me into that one, Andreas. A lot of people expecting like a first-round finish here, but you got to assume that both of these fighters are going to have a healthy amount of respect for the other one, and it is a very low total. So you're leaning over 1.5 at plus 135, and Stipe as a big underdog here at plus 160.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I don't think Stipe Miocic is going to be a fool and come here and try to strike with Ngannou. I think his plan here is to use his wrestling. Mm-hmm. He's a Division I wrestler we haven't really seen Ngannou on his back. I mean, guys who stand and trade with him go down. Alistair Overeem shot against him, but Alistair Overeem's not a wrestler. He doesn't do the same thing. So I don't expect this to be a shootout early. I don't think Ngannou's going to respect Stipe until he gets put on his back. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what Stipe is going to do. So I think there's a lot of value here. 1.5 rounds is, it's a lot of time in a heavyweight fight. But when you're somebody as smart as Stipe and a guy who's the defending and reigning heavyweight champion, he's not coming out here to just have a shootout and try to finish Ngannou. I think he's going to play the long game here.
Yeah, so I'm just eyeing right now some of the specific round results. If you want to take a big shot with the specific round that Stipe means, Stipe winning in round 2 plus 750, Stipe winning in round 3 plus 1150, Stipe winning in round 4 plus 1650. So those are some interesting odds there. What official picks do you want to make on this one, Andreas Hale?
Well, my official pick is going to be Stipe Miocic plus the over. I think you should pair those two because even if Ngannou wins, I think Stipe will play it smart and last at least 7.5 minutes. You get the extra value if he wins this fight. Either way, I don't see Miocic going out of here early. I don't see Ngannou going out of here early because I think Miocic is going to play this smart. So those are both my official picks.
Mm-hmm. But you don't think that there's a chance that Miocic wins by decision? He'll probably win it inside the distance just later.
There's a chance, but, it's really hard to get a read on this because neither of these guys have gone to a decision in a long, long time. So I would stay away from that one. I think there's a lot of value in here in Miocic in the over. The decision is so tantalizing because of that line, but I'm going to stay away from it. 25 minutes for a heavyweight fight. We rarely get to see those things go the distance, so it's probably not going to happen here.
Awesome breakdown, Andreas Hale. And you've talked me into a play on the over. I'm going to make that one an official pick as well. I'm going to hold off on taking Stipe, even though my brain tells me that everything you said is right. And I've read a lot of other opinions saying that not necessarily that Stipe should be favored here, but that he's getting more disrespected than the market is giving him credit for, and that he has a better chance the market's giving him credit for, and that he's getting a bit disrespected as this big of an underdog. All right, Andreas Hale is going to make Stipe at plus 160 an official pick, and the over 1.5 rounds at plus 135 currently at 5 dimes as an official pick, and I'll be on that over too officially. All right, now let's move on to the co-main event. Another interesting one: Daniel Cormier against Ozdemir, and here once again, I guess it's hard to say that a person who's a minus 340 favorite is getting a little bit disrespected. But DC, unless if you take away the John Jones fights, has basically dominated all comers, and is probably arguably one of the best pound for pound fighters ever. If you take away again the John Jones fight, so now he's going up against a guy who Volkan's probably out of his class here. DC did make a comment that he's varsity and Volkan is JV. I don't know if that was a smart thing to do to motivate Volkan here, but it might be true, it might be accurate. Is DC maybe easy money here, even at minus 340?
It's tough. I think so. Unless DC is completely ruined by the John Jones knockout in his last fight in his advanced age. He's 38, about to turn 39 in March. This should be easy. I think he's faced tougher strikers. Anthony Johnson choked him out twice. We haven't really seen Ozdemir on his back, so I think Cormier is going to definitely put his wrestling to work. He's got a strong chin. The play here is easily two things: the over, and I would lean on Cormier, but the line's a little wide. But I think the over, one way or another, this thing is going to go more than 7.5 minutes, because I just think Cormier he's just too smart. He's too rugged. He loves to drag his opponents into deep water. So he should win this fight. Unless he's completely shot, which I don't think is going to happen. But even at minus 330, I might stay away from that. But I do like the over here.
Yeah, this one also 5-round fight, but the over is just 1.5 rounds. It's minus 200, which is a big favorite line there. But again, just 1.5 rounds. I'm agreeing with you on that one as well. So Volkan, is he right now in a different class than DC, and he's stepping up into a class that he doesn't deserve to be in right now, or does he have a legitimate shot to win this one and maybe has some value at plus 280?
He's got a shot, but again, Rumble Johnson is probably the hardest hitter we've seen in the heavyweight division, and Daniel Cormier fought that man, dragged him to the mat, and choked him out twice. I don't see Ozdemir being much different. I think he's a great striker. We saw what he did against Serkinov and Manuel, but Serkinov and Manuel are not in DC's class. The light heavyweight division is something that is DC, and then there's John Jones, and then there's everybody else. And Volkan right now is part of everybody else. So I think he's going to be in and over his head. I think he's going to get ragdolled for 5 rounds and possibly choked out.
Yeah, I mean, it is thin on talent, and there are not many other contenders in the light heavyweight division, which is why he's getting this shot here. All right, so you're going to make over 1.5 rounds at minus 200 an official pick?
Absolutely.
I'm going on that one as well, Andreas Hale. Thanks so much. I'm tailing the hell out of your analysis today. Over 1.5 rounds, minus 200 is an official pick from both Andreas Hale and myself. Now let's move on to the next fight. Calvin Kattar against Shane Burgos. This is an interesting one. 2 exciting prospects here. Of course, Kattar got a win on short notice in his last fight. Now, different situation where he's going to be have a lot more time to prep, which might not necessarily be a huge positive for him, especially going up against like Burgos, who is a vicious knockout artist with a bunch of dominant wins in the UFC to his record here. And Burgos is minus 190, Kattar's plus 165 on the other side. I guess the big question here is there a talent discrepancy between the two fighters, and how big is it? And in light of that, does either fighter have an advantage here on the current odds being offered? What do you think, Andreas?
I don't think there's a huge discrepancy in talent. I think Burgos being undefeated and seeing what he's done, he should have an advantage here. And the line is pretty spot on here. I'm a little curious about Kattar here because he's fighting in his backyard in Boston, which should give him an extra boost, but it might force him to do things he doesn't want to do to show out in front of his hometown crowd. What I'm looking at is this fight could end inside the distance. The line, I believe, is around plus 170 to end under 2.5 rounds. So I like that more than picking one of these two fighters because it's both still prospects. They're still relatively new. Burgos, of course, is undefeated. Kattar, he's, I think, on a 5 or 6 fight winning streak. But I figure that one of these guys is going to make a mistake and go to sleep inside of 2.5 rounds. So that's where I'm leaning. I won't make that official pick, but I can't really see enough of an advantage for Burgos to make me bet on him. And I don't think Kattar's enough of an underdog to make me bet on him.
Yeah, both these guys do like to look for the finishes in their fights as well. So maybe the style of the fight is, yeah, let's see. I'm finding the fight not going the distance is plus 140, and the under is plus 170 at 2.5 rounds. So you're liking that, but you're only going to give it as a lean, not an official pick?
Yeah, I like it, but with Burgos, I've seen a lot of him, but Kid I haven't seen enough of. So I like that as a lean. I can't make it an official pick because I'm not that confident in it. But judging from their records and what they've done in the past, I'll make that a lean more than an official pick.
Okay, and then let's talk about Villante and Barroso. This is another interesting one, kind of the opposite of the fight we just discussed. Two guys who have been struggling mighty lately, and the guy who takes a loss in this one might get pink slipped from the UFC. Right now, Villante is minus 170. He's obviously a talented fighter, just kind of inconsistent. Doesn't finish guys when he should. And Barroso on the other side, plus 150 is as an underdog, and they just don't really string wins together. They're both coming in here off of losses. Kind of a lackluster fight in the cards, I think. And Barroso's kind of a low volume fighter, so maybe a shot with the over here. Even though Villante is looking to get a finish, as he's been saying, he lost a couple fights recently where he thinks that he should have finished the guys and he would have come out with a win. Villante minus 170, Barroso plus 150. Total is 1.5 rounds. The over minus 210, under plus 175. I was thinking about maybe a shot with the over here, even though it's a big favorite line. What do you think about this one, Andreas?
Yeah, maybe a shot with the over. I mean, two guys that are backsliding right now, it's hard to bet on either one of them because you don't know where their head is at more than their talent, and that's always a big concern. So you look at these two guys, and Villante, yeah, he can finish. He's got Chris Weidman in his corner, and Chris Weidman will be cornering him this fight. He'll be the head coach, but I don't know if that means anything. And Villante desperately needs a win, but that usually means you play it smart. You don't take too many risks. And Barroso, a guy who's just coming off a loss as well, you're right. This is a fight where one guy could get the pink slip. So I'll take a shot at the over. It's a lean. I won't make it an official pick because you never know with these guys if Villante does have heavy hands. But that's probably the best route to go. I mean, two guys they desperately need to get back in the win column.
Yeah, and both guys also have bad conditioning as one of their negatives for both fighters. They both tend to get gassed later in rounds. So does that mean that they're going to be conservative to start so that they don't get gassed, or does it mean that they're going to look for finishes so that the fight doesn't go into the third round? It's hard to say because you just don't know what strategy these fighters are going to come in here with because both of them have been losing. So you got to figure they're going to try to change things up at least to a slight degree, right, Andreas? What's your take on the conditioning knock on both these fighters?
It's tough because, that being said, you look at those things and with Villante, he lost a tough split decision to Patrick Cummins. He got knocked out by Shogun. So you look at those and you think, well, he's got to kind of conserve his gas tank for those later rounds. So at 1.5 rounds, I think it should go over. And I think he'll play it smart. As for his opponent, I really don't know what his game plan is. Maybe he tries to take advantage, maybe he doesn't. But it's just two guys on the wrong end of what's going, of a win streak. They both have losses in their on their docket right now. They need to get back in the win column. So I think you have to play it smart and use your conditioning. But they're light heavyweights. You just don't know what these guys are going to do when the bell rings.
Yeah, I mean, all of Barroso's decisions have come. All of his wins have come via decision, whereas Villante is 1-4 in his fights that go decision. So maybe you want to take a shot with Villante inside the distance and hedge that with Barroso to win by decision. I don't know. This is a tough one. I am going to take a shot with the over here, 1.5 rounds at minus 210. Even though Villante is going for a finish, I'm not totally convinced that, like you said, where his head's at and if he's going to be able to get that. It's a high line here, a high favorite line, but I'm going to make that an official pick over 1.5 rounds, minus 210. And now the final fight, the last fight on the main card that we're going to cover here, Rob Font against Thomas Almeida. Back to two guys who have exciting futures ahead of them. The shine has worn off a bit on Almeida as like the next big thing, but still an exciting fighter, coming off of a loss. But maybe here he bounces back against Rob Font, who's certainly no pushover. He's also a dangerous striker. This one could end inside 3 rounds very easily. And Thomas Almeida just minus 115. Font on the other side at minus 105. I know Font is dangerous, but I'm thinking Almeida maybe should be a little bit of a bigger favorite than he is right now at minus 115. What do you think, Andreas?
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. I think about Thomas Almeida, he lost to Jimmy Rivera, who's won like 20 fights in a row, and he lost to Cody Garbrandt, who ended up being champion. Aside from that, he's wrecked everybody in front of him. Rob Font, yeah, he's a dangerous striker, but they have similar skill sets. And with that, Almeida's the better striker. He's a little bit more aggressive. And if you look at Font in his past few fights, once he gets hit, he kind of diverts from his game plan and he tries to go for takedowns and he does things that he shouldn't be doing. Doesn't fight well going backwards. I think Almeida should be a bigger favorite. I'm surprised by this. So that being said, I like Almeida a lot, and I think this is a lock here. I think one way or another he wins this fight. I won't take him necessarily inside of this because Rob Font hasn't been finished by knockout before. But I think Almeida is just a better striker. I think he'll put Font on his back foot the entire fight, and he should win this one.
And what about the fact, I mean, Font, you know, I'm agreeing with you, but I guess the reason I was hesitant is because the line was a little bit lower than I was expecting it to be, and then it's gone a little bit in Font's favor. Font clearly is a, you know, a skilled fighter who has the tools to be, you know, a top contender. And also, he's from Boston. He's fighting in his hometown. He's fought in the TD Garden before and won in this spot. So is that an advantage for Font, similar to how Brazilian fighters often have a big advantage at home in Brazil or in Mexico with the altitude?
No, not in this case. And the reason why is because Almeida's a volume striker. Font likes to pick his spots. So you look at a guy who's going to throw punches and bunches versus a guy who's going to look to pick his spots. If you look at Font's last loss to Pedro Munoz, he got hit and then he ended up shooting again, caught in a guillotine. It's going to be the same thing here. He doesn't fight well off his back foot. I don't care where he's fighting at. I don't care what he's doing. I think Almeida is just an all-around better striker. Unless Font was an exceptional grappler who used that to his advantage, which he doesn't, I think this line is interesting. I'm surprised that Almeida's not like a minus 150. Yeah. He's only lost to two of the top guys in the division, and because of that, I have to say Almeida should be a prohibitive favorite, and this is a lock pick for me.
All right, so that's going to be an official pick for you. Almeida at minus 115, Andreas.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm feeling the same way. Andreas Hale, and looking at some of these props, Almeida to win inside the distance, just plus 169. So not a ton of extra value you're getting there. So I will agree with you, Andreas Hale. Tail you once again. I'm taking Almeida at minus 115 to get a win over Rob Font. All right, a great analysis on this tricky card. Andreas Hale, let's review the official picks. Andreas Hale's given Stipe plus 160 and the over 1.5 at plus 135 in that fight as official picks. I'm just going on the over with Andreas in the DC and Vulcan fight. We're both going to be on the over 1.5 rounds at minus 200. Cater and Burgos we're both staying off of. Then Barroso and Vellante, nothing from Andreas. And I am going to take the over 1.5 rounds at minus 210 on that one. And then Andreas and I both also thinking Almeida should be a bigger favorite. We're going to take him at minus 115 as official picks. Andreas Hale, great analysis. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.